Welcome to Comparative Anatomy. Today, we're going to explore the general plan of circulation in vertebrates. Have you ever wondered how every single cell in your body gets exactly what it needs to survive, no matter how deeply it is buried? We will understand how blood flows, the physics behind it, and why our bodies are built this way. Let us dive in. To understand this system, let us start with a simple analogy. Imagine a massive, bustling city with millions of houses and businesses. If the grocery store is right next door, you can just walk outside. But in an enormous city, you need a complex network of highways and delivery trucks to bring food to every house and take the trash away. In your body, the houses are your living cells, and the delivery trucks are your blood. The general plan of circulation is exactly this biological highway system, ensuring every cell gets oxygen and nutrients. Without it, cells would simply starve. Now that we have our analogy, why is this highway system absolutely necessary? For very tiny organisms, like single-celled amoebas, simple diffusion is fast enough to move oxygen from the water directly into their center. However, diffusion is an incredibly slow process over long distances. If a large vertebrate, like a shark or a human being, relied only on diffusion, it would take years for oxygen to reach the brain from the skin. The animal would die instantly. The circulatory system solves this physical limitation by using bulk flow, moving large volumes of fluid rapidly using a mechanical pump. Since we know why we need bulk flow, let us look at the actual biological structures that make it happen. In comparative anatomy, the general plan of circulation refers to the closed-loop cardiovascular system found universally across all vertebrates. It consists of a muscular pumping organ called the heart, which forcefully propels blood through a continuous, sealed network of tubular vessels. Arteries are robust vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Veins are compliant vessels that carry blood back to the heart. Microscopic capillaries connect the two, allowing the actual exchange of gases and nutrients with the tissues. Let us visualize these structures working together in a continuous loop. On the screen, you are looking at a schematic diagram of the general vertebrate circulation plan. Notice the muscular heart on the left, acting as the central pump. The red arrows indicate oxygen-rich blood flowing away from the heart through the robust arteries. This blood reaches the intricate web of capillaries on the right, where gas exchange occurs. Finally, the blue arrows show the oxygen-depleted blood returning to the heart through the veins, completing the closed loop. Now that we have seen the anatomy, we must understand the physics driving this fluid forward. The heart does not just push blood blindly, it creates a vital pressure gradient. This is described by the fundamental equation of hemodynamics, which is essentially Ohm's law applied to biological fluids. Q represents the total blood flow, or cardiac output, measured in liters per minute. Delta P is the pressure difference created by the heart, measured in millimeters of mercury. R is the total peripheral resistance, the physical friction in the vessels. If the heart pumps harder, pressure increases and flow increases. If vessels constrict, resistance increases, drastically decreasing the flow. Let us apply this physical principle to a real biological scenario, a fish. A fish has a single circulation plan where blood flows through the gills and the body in series. We are given a pressure difference of 40 units. The gills create a resistance of 5 units, and the body creates a resistance of 3 units. Because they are in series, we first add the resistances together to get a total resistance of 8 units. Using our flow equation, we divide the pressure of 40 by the resistance of 8. The final blood flow is 5 units. This mathematical result reveals a major evolutionary challenge for the fish. Because the blood must squeeze through the tiny capillaries of the gills first, it faces massive friction. As we just calculated, this high resistance causes the blood to lose a massive amount of pressure. By the time the blood leaves the gills and heads to the rest of the body, the flow is relatively sluggish. This severe pressure drop is exactly why higher vertebrates, like mammals and birds, evolved a double circulation system. They developed a completely separate pump for the lungs and the body to maintain high pressure. Moving fluid is important, but the ultimate goal is delivering oxygen, which brings us to our next equation. We use the Fick principle to measure this delivery. VO2 represents the total volume of oxygen consumed by the tissues per minute. Q is the total blood flow. Ca is the arterial oxygen concentration, and Cv is the venous oxygen concentration. The term in the parentheses represents exactly how much oxygen was extracted from each liter of blood. If blood flow increases, oxygen delivery increases. If the tissues extract more oxygen, the venous concentration drops and total consumption increases. Let us see how this principle works in a living mammal. Suppose an animal has a cardiac output of 5 liters per minute. The arterial blood has an oxygen concentration of 200 milliliters per liter, and the venous blood returns with 150 milliliters per liter. We want to find the total oxygen consumed. First, we subtract the venous concentration from the arterial concentration, giving us 50 milliliters of oxygen extracted per liter. We then multiply this by the blood flow of 5 liters per minute. The final answer is 250 milliliters of oxygen consumed every minute. Now that we have used the Fick principle, let us understand exactly where it comes from. The mathematics here perfectly mirror our earlier delivery truck analogy. Think about the total amount of oxygen arriving at the tissues. It is simply the blood flow, Q, multiplied by the oxygen concentration in the arteries, Ca. This is the fully loaded truck arriving at the house. Now, think about the oxygen leaving the tissues. It is the same blood flow, Q, multiplied by the lower oxygen concentration in the veins, Cv. This is the partially empty truck driving away. By comparing what arrives and what leaves, we can find the exact consumption. The oxygen actually used by the body must be the difference between the oxygen that entered the tissues and the oxygen that left. Mathematically, we write this as VO2 equals Q times Ca minus Q times Cv. Because the blood flow Q is the same in both terms, we can factor it out algebraically. This leaves us with our final result. VO2 equals Q multiplied by the difference between Ca and Cv. This simple conservation of mass is the foundation of cardiovascular physiology. This mathematical relationship shows us exactly how animals survive in changing environments. Our calculation showed practically how the circulatory system meets the metabolic demands of the animal. But what happens if the animal starts running to escape a predator? It suddenly needs much more oxygen. According to the Fick principle we just derived, the animal has 2 choices to survive. It must either increase its heart rate to increase the total blood flow, or its tissues must extract more oxygen from the blood, increasing the difference between the arterial and venous concentrations. Usually, the body does both simultaneously. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us review the most important ideas. First, the general plan of circulation is a transport highway designed to overcome the severe limitations of simple diffusion using bulk flow. Second, it relies on a muscular heart to generate vital pressure gradients, pushing blood against the natural resistance of the vessels. Finally, this basic continuous loop of the heart, arteries, capillaries, and veins forms the brilliant evolutionary foundation upon which all complex vertebrate life is built. You now have a solid understanding of vertebrate circulation.